modern psychology has extraordinary tools. It can label your anxiety, clarify your traumas, analyze your behavior, and even map your neural pathways. But there is something it still cannot do. It cannot free you from the one who is suffering. Buddhism was never just a philosophy. It was never merely a religion. It was a psychological operating system created long before the word psychology existed, but far more advanced than anything modern science has produced. Psychology studies the mind. Buddhism studies the self that believes it is the mind. One system tries to fix your thoughts. The other shows you that your thoughts were never you to begin with. Before we begin, take one moment to breathe in and breathe out. And if you'd like, drop a comment sharing where in the world you're listening from. Your presence here helps this community grow. Now let's begin. Psychology treats the symptoms. Buddhism treats the root. Imagine going to a doctor because a tree in your yard is dying. The doctor examines the leaves. He studies their color, measures their texture, documents the falling branches. But he never once checks the roots. This is modern psychology. Symptoms, behaviors, thought patterns, brain chemistry, everything on the surface. But Buddhism walks straight past the leaves and digs into the soil of your being. Not, why do I feel this way? But, who is the one who feels? Not, how do I stop negative thoughts? But, what is the nature of thought itself? Where psychology analyzes your story, Buddhism dissolves the storyteller. Your mind is a movie. You mistake it for reality. Close your eyes and imagine a movie screen. On that screen, scenes appear, thoughts, memories, regrets, desires, fears. Some are loud, some are subtle, some replay endlessly like old films refusing to fade. Modern psychology helps you examine the scenes. It helps you explore why the movie plays the way it does. It helps you rewrite certain parts of the script. But Buddhism teaches you something revolutionary. You are not the movie. You are the screen. You are the awareness on which everything appears. You are the silent witness behind thought, behind emotion, behind sensation. And the moment you recognize this, your entire identity begins to shift. You stop trying to control every thought. You stop fighting every emotion. You stop believing the mind's every story. You begin to relax into the truth. None of it is you. The Buddha's forgotten psychology, how suffering actually works. Buddhism's core teaching is not spiritual, it's diagnostic. It explains why you suffer with the precision of a surgeon. There are 3 causes. Craving, wanting things to be different. Aversion, rejecting what is happening. Delusion, misunderstanding what you are. Everything else is just a variation. If you feel stressed, anxious, angry, insecure, jealous, overwhelmed, you can trace every one of those to these 3 roots. They are not moral issues. They are mechanical. You don't suffer because you're broken. You suffer because your mind is running an outdated operating system built for survival, not peace. Buddhism doesn't blame you for this. It shows you how the machine works. And once you understand the machine, you stop taking its output so personally. The most radical Buddhist insight: you are a process, not a person. Psychology assumes a self. It assumes there is a you, with patterns and problems. But Buddhism walks into the room and says, "Show me this. You. Is it in your thoughts? They come and go. Is it in your emotions? They rise and fall. Is it in your memories? They distort over time. Is it in your body? It changes every moment. So where is this permanent you psychology is trying so hard to heal?" Buddhism reveals something liberating. You are not an entity. You are a process. A flow. A stream of ever-changing experiences. And when you stop clinging to the idea of a fixed identity, your suffering collapses like a sandcastle meeting the tide. Anxiety melts when you stop identifying with thought. Imagine a cloud floating across the sky. If the cloud said, "I am who I am forever," we'd laugh. But that's what we do with our thoughts. We believe their stories, treat them like facts, and let them define our existence. Psychology helps you challenge these thoughts. Buddhism helps you step out of the entire cloud system. Buddhism says, a thought is not a command. A thought is not truth. A thought is not you. A thought is simply a mental event arising due to conditions and disappearing due to conditions. Watch it. Don't swallow it. When you realize this deeply, the power of anxiety begins to dissolve. Because anxiety depends on your belief in thoughts. Without belief, thoughts have no claws. The Buddha's definition of freedom is different from the modern one. Modern freedom. Doing what you want, when you want, how you want. Buddhist freedom, no longer being controlled by the wanting. That is real liberation. A mind that can want without attachment. A heart that can love without fear. A life not ruled by craving or anxiety. When the Buddha spoke of nirvana, he didn't mean a mystical paradise. He meant the extinguishing of suffering at its root. He meant freedom from the compulsive mind. A freedom psychology has yet to truly understand. Your emotions aren't problems. They are messages. In psychology, emotions are seen as things to analyze or regulate. In Buddhism, emotions are seen as teachers. Fear says, there is something here you have not understood. Anger says, there is a boundary you have not respected. Sadness says, you are grieving something you thought was permanent. Jealousy says, you are comparing illusions. And desire says, you are reaching for completion outside yourself. Emotions don't need to be eliminated. They need to be listened to, observed, understood, not fought. Every emotion is a mirror showing you something you need to see. Mindfulness is not relaxation. It is awareness of reality. Most people think mindfulness is about calm breathing and peaceful feelings. But the original Buddhist mindfulness was something far more powerful. The ability to see reality without distortion. Not, I feel calm, but, I am aware of the feeling of calm. Not, I'm anxious, but, I am aware of anxiety as a sensation. Not, I'm thinking, but, I am aware that thought is happening. Awareness is not the mind. Awareness is the space in which the mind appears. The more awareness you cultivate, the less the mind can deceive you. This is why only Buddhism, not psychology, has a method that leads to awakening. The mind is mechanical. Awareness is free. Your mind reacts automatically. It judges automatically. It fears automatically. It desires automatically. Psychology tries to adjust the machine. Buddhism helps you step out of the machine altogether. You begin to live from awareness, not programming. From presence, not habit. From insight, not conditioning. This is the birth of real transformation. This is the birth of the awakened human. The illusion of control and the stress it creates. You think you're stressed because life is hard. But the deeper truth is this. You're stressed because you're trying to control a universe that was never built to obey you. Every moment you resist reality, you create tension. You want the weather to be different. You want other people to act differently. You want the past to change. You want the future to guarantee something. This constant fight against what is creates an invisible pressure that psychology calls stress, but Buddhism calls grasping. Grasping is the belief. If life matched my expectations, then I could finally relax. But life never fully cooperates. Not because it's cruel, but because it's alive. The Buddha's insight is simple. You don't suffer because life changes. You suffer because you believe it shouldn't. Freedom begins the moment you stop arguing with reality. Why your thoughts feel so real, and why they aren't. Your mind is constantly narrating your life. And because the narration feels familiar and loud, you assume it must be true. But thoughts only feel real because you've practiced believing them. You have believed the same internal stories so many times that they have turned into emotional reflexes. Thought, I'm not good enough. Emotion, sadness. Thought, something bad is going to happen. Emotion, anxiety. Thought, they don't like me. Emotion, insecurity. These emotions reinforce the thoughts, and the thoughts reinforce the emotions. But Buddhism breaks this cycle with one radical insight. A thought is just a thought, not a prophecy, not a command, not a fact, not an identity. Just electrical activity in the brain. A mental event. A cloud passing through the sky of awareness. When you stop fusing with thoughts, your emotional storms begin to settle. Not because the thoughts stop, but because you stop believing them. The freedom modern psychology can't reach. You have walked through the machinery of the mind. You have seen how thoughts appear and disappear like clouds, how emotions rise and fall like waves, how identity itself is a story constantly rewriting itself. Modern psychology helps you understand the mind. But Buddhism goes deeper. It helps you see what you are beneath the mind. You are not your thoughts. You are the space they echo in. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness that feels them without being defined by them. You are not your story. You are the presence watching the story unfold. Your suffering was never a flaw. It was feedback. A message. A mirror. A sign that some part of you still believed the mind's fiction. But now you see through the illusion. You see that control is impossible. Life will move as it moves. People will change as they change. The past cannot be rewritten, and the future will not obey your demands. And yet, you are finally free. Because freedom was never about controlling the world. Freedom was about no longer being controlled by the mind. The stress you carried, the anxieties that gnawed at you, the fear of change, the craving for certainty, the habitual clinging, all of it begins to loosen the moment you stop fighting impermanence and begin flowing with it. You now understand what the Buddha understood long before psychology existed. Suffering ends not when life becomes easier, but when the mind stops creating resistance to life. Awakening is not mystical. It is practical. It is the shift from identification to observation, from reaction to awareness, from storytelling to presence, from clinging to letting go. You are a process, not a person. A flow, not a fixed identity. A changing stream of experiences, beautiful, painful, ordinary, extraordinary, flowing through the open sky of consciousness. And when you sit inside that sky, when you rest as the awareness behind all thought, you discover what psychology has been searching for but never fully reached. The end of unnecessary suffering. Not the end of emotion. Not the end of thought. Not the end of life's challenges. But the end of the mind's war with reality. This is the peace the Buddha spoke of. Not a blissful escape, but a radical clarity. A freedom born from seeing things as they truly are, impermanent, changing, fluid, alive. When you understand this, life becomes lighter. Problems become workable. Emotions become visitors. Thoughts become scenery. And you, the real you, remain untouched, unshaken, open, aware. This is the wisdom modern psychology gestures toward but cannot fully hold. This is the medicine the Buddha offered. Not belief. Not dogma. Not ritual. Just the truth of your own mind, seen clearly without distortion. And once you see it, even for a moment, you cannot unsee it. You know now that every moment is new. Every feeling is temporary. Every thought is just weather. Every identity is a costume. Every breath is a rebirth. And freedom is not someday. It is here. It is now. It is the awareness listening to these words. May you walk forward with this knowing. May you live with presence instead of pressure. May you see your mind clearly, without fear, without judgment. May you meet each moment as the Buddha intended, awake, open, and completely free. This is the heart of Buddhism. This is the wisdom modern psychology could not reach. This is the medicine of the mind. This is Buddha Mind RX. Thank you for listening.